Start. Okay. Hello, this is Wolfgang, and this is kind of a rough tutorial on how to do development with Genomalysis. And so there are a few things you're going to need first. One of them is SBT. Another is Java 7. You'll also need some kind of tool for working with Git that can connect to GitHub. Now let me see what else. You'll need a computer as well to put all this stuff on. But let me share my screen so that what I'm saying from this point actually makes more sense. So usually this results in a tunnel, and then we go to my other window here. So I'm on GitHub here, and I'm looking at my SSH keys. We're going to add one in a little bit. But first, let's go to source tree. This is source tree. I've already got a project checked out on here, but I'm going to show you how to create a new key. So we go to Tools on here. I'm going to create or import SSH keys. We can generate a public-private key pair here, or you can import one. So if I generate one, it wants me to move my mouse around so I can use the random salt to make this thing more unique. You can enter a passphrase so that somebody has to enter a passphrase to unlock it, but I'm not going to bother right now. Okay, let's save the public key. I'm going to save this example hub key. RSA.public key. I'm going to save the private key. Are you sure you want to save it with that passphrase? Nah, why not? Why not just add a passphrase? Okay. I'm going to say example RSA. I don't know. Okay. So this right here is the contents of our public key. So what I'm going to do is copy this. I'm going to go away. And here we can go add SSH key. Say my example SSH key. I generated. I'll paste the contents into here. I'll add key. And GitHub is prompting me for the passphrase that I just locked it with. So I'm entering that. And bam. I can use it. I think. It's gray, and these other two are green. Maybe that means I've never used it. Okay, anyway, I have an example SSH key, right? And so now, let's go back to here. I'm going to go to a project that I don't have cloned yet. Let's see. Where do we clone this at? We've got code. Here's the clone URL. So I'm going to copy that. It's right here, the main page. I'm going to do repository. What do we have? Checkout. Nope. Clone. Clone new. This button right here on source tree. And so I'm going to give it the URL that I just copied from GitHub. And I'm going to put it in my Java workspace, like all my other projects. Okay. And there I go. Completed with errors. Oh, it wants a full path. Okay. Oops. Try putting it here where it should be. There we go. And it is contacting GitHub and grabbing my source code and pulling it down. So there it is. Now if we go into, where is it? D, Java Workspace, you'll see that my source code's here. All just came from GitHub. So that's great. Okay, So the other things that we'll need, SBT and Java 7. Java 7 should be pretty straightforward. You want not just the runtime environment, but the JDK. So let's look for Java 7 JDK. JDK stands for Java Development Kit. So bam. That's something we want to get right there. Let me see. I'll just create a little list of notes here. Go ahead and make comments on the video that gets saved from here. Okay, so SBT. Alright, here's the SBT download. You install SBT and it should just work. I installed SBT on Windows and I can say SBT stage to go ahead and build a native package out of the Genomalysis project. Just puts SBT on the path, so it should work. What that generates, we go to Java Workspace, Genomalysis, second Genomalysis, and go to Target, Universal Stage. We have this structure here. We go to bin. See a bunch of stuff that I have just left here, but Genomalysis.bat is the executable that launches this project. And we have all these nice filters that we can run on FASTA files. You can open FASTA files, look at the sequences. That's pretty much all that works at the moment. But yeah, there you go. So another important thing you want to be able to do is to create Eclipse files for this. So here's how you do this. Let me just very quickly wipe all these out. Not going to wipe them off disk. Okay. Close all. Now we're going to do something called SBT Eclipse. To the SBT configuration files, I've added an Eclipse plugin, so that makes SBT aware of how to generate Eclipse files for these projects. It doesn't automatically come from GitHub. So now it's generated these, and if you look at, where is it? If you look at the directories, go to Genomalysis, you'll see a .class path, a .project, and a .settings. Those are the Eclipse files that are generated by that. So now if we go into Eclipse and we go to import existing projects into Workspace, and then we go to D, Java Workspace, and we go Genomalysis, okay. It actually generated all the sub-projects underneath that top-level Genomalysis directory, and it might go through a few rounds of building. Looks like there's a build issue with this one. But this is the main project, Genomalysis, and then the rest of these basically are just plugins that depend on it and then build against it. So the other thing we can do here is we can do an SBT package. So the SBT stage that we did builds this target universal stage bin directory. This is what we use to build the Windows installer. So now if we do SBT package, this is what builds all of the plugins. So it compiles them and then builds them into a jar file. Okay, if everything goes right, then you won't see any errors here. Now what that does is if we back out and we start looking at these sub-projects, Clustal W tool, for example, we go to Target, Scala 210. This may go away eventually. You see Clustal W2 210-1.0.jar. that is our ClustalW plugin. And so now, if we go back into the main project, Genomalysis, target, universal, stage, bin, and then if we go to the plugins directory here, you'll see that I've already, you have to manually copy them from each project into here. But when you start it up, it scans this directory for plugins and then loads the appropriate classes from each of these jar files. And then when we actually run it, where is it? These things are artifacts that it just happened to find in those jars that implemented certain interfaces that allow them to be plugins. So yeah, I think that's about it. In terms of source code, there's quite a bit of it. Most of the user interface code is in .ui packages. There's .ui and there's .configuration.ui. That's where a lot of that stuff is. Filter control. That's where a lot of the logic happens for running the protein sequence filter. It just spawns a background thread, runs until completion, and then whenever it progresses, it goes ahead and notifies the UI that it's changed, and then the UI updates and shows a progress bar. Yeah, I'd say that's a high-level overview of how to get started with this. You can look at the source code, make changes. But anyway, hopefully that was helpful. Yeah, enjoy the tunnel and the development. Goodbye.